What's up, guys? Greetings from Houston, Texas. Mike coming out from AT Astro, Area of Truth, Aspect and Relationship Astrology. And usually I like to cover like placements or predictive techniques. I don't really go over specific events and transits all that often, but I feel like I should make a special case for this particular transit that we as a whole society are experiencing right now. Where we're talking about Mercury retrograde in Pisces and why this retrograde is a fuck shitstorm of a transit, and it is affecting a lot of people very intensely right now. If you're feeling really strange, you have been for the past week or two, I'm going to pretty much explain why and why it's going to be okay. Now, Mercury retrograde is a little bit over exaggerated in terms of like, you know, what it means and how it affects certain people. People tend to freak out a little bit over it if you're involved in the astrological community. It's when Mercury begins to slow down in its orbit around the sun, and it appears to go backwards because the sun and Mercury, they move very closely together. And so when Mercury will start to slow down, the sun will pass it, and then it'll be, you know, start to go retrograde. It happens about twice a year, sometimes more, sometimes less. And it's not that big of a deal usually. Some things can happen during Mercury retrograde, like there's a reputation of things like breaking, having technological difficulties, having communication issues, and for the most part that can be true, albeit it is relatively minor. I don't really have a lot of problems during Mercury retrograde. I don't really take it all that much into account, but this particular retrograde is a motherfucker, and I'm about to explain why. Not all retrogrades are created equal. This retrograde is happening, one, in Pisces, where Mercury is considered to be in detriment, and it's also happening while it's squaring Jupiter. And then on top of that, at the exact same time, right before Mercury became retrograde, we had a new moon in Pisces conjunct Neptune. So let me just sort of spray this all down for you, break it all down for you. Pisces Neptune energy is a very nebulous, hard to describe energy. It clouds your thought process. It makes it difficult for you to think clearly. And that's why Mercury is considered in detriment in Pisces, because, you know, Neptune and logic don't go together. And with it being a hard aspect to Jupiter, the planet of expansion, it's very easy. And even if you don't have anything in Pisces, or you don't see, like if you look at transits to your chart, you don't see any major Ptolemaic aspects being made from those planets to personal planets, like I'm talking about the square, the opposition, the sextile, or the trine, or the conjunction, you can still feel it. When Mercury goes retrograde, or went retrograde in Pisces about 2 weeks ago, and we got about 2 more weeks left of this bullshit, it creates this environment on a grand scale, as a part of esoteric astrology, where outcomes seem to be unclear. Things that we plan for don't seem to go the way that we need them to go. Things are breaking. I'm experiencing a lot in my life. It's actually kind of traumatic. And it's not even making major aspects. It's not making a lot of major aspects to personal planets in my chart. It's making a lot of minor aspects, which are still important in transit. And with the sun conjunct the moon, the new moon in Pisces conjunct Neptune, that big tri-planet clusterfuck earlier this month, it threw down all the energies for this month of our thought processes as a society being very clouded. Like I said, outcomes very uncertain. The preponderant or the predisposition to overreact with Jupiter being in hard aspect to Mercury, to exaggerate things that aren't really that big of a deal. It's a problem. It's a big problem. It can actually cause you emotional pain. Actually, if you want to see specifically how it's affecting you, check out your transits. Go to astro.com and pull up your natal chart, and then pull up the transits, and then go to PDF additional tables, go down to the bottom, and see what aspects Mercury is making to other planets in your chart, or what aspects Jupiter is making to other planets in your chart. Or Neptune too. And look for minor aspects too, because the effects might not seem completely apparent right off the bat, but those minor aspects definitely make a difference in astrology or in transits. The sesquiquadrate, the semisextile, the semisquare, the in conjunction especially. They can definitely kick off some pretty messed up feelings, things that aren't really apparent. You don't know what's wrong with you, but something's wrong. It's going to be okay though. The key to understanding this retrograde is to not change course. If you are planning something or doing something, you very well may face some difficulties, but it's okay. You are just, if you're freaking out over a situation, you're literally just over-exaggerating. Because Neptune clouds judgment. You're not seeing things clearly. You're seeing things from like a 12th house type of lens. And the 12th house is a very scary place. A lot of your subconscious fears could be fucking with you right now. A lot of mine are. Things can start breaking in your house. Things can seem a little bit overbearing, unbearable even, but it'll be okay. We've only got 14 more days left of this clusterfuck of a retrograde. I've never seen it this bad. You even look on social media and people are losing their goddamn minds. And it's not that bad if you look at it objectively, but that's the exact thing that this type of transit prevents you from doing, looking at things objectively. Now, I've got a lot of planets in Sagittarius. I've got points in Gemini. I've even got a couple things in Virgo. Well, I've got Jupiter in Virgo, that's about it. But those little aspects, I have a lot of planets in mutable signs, so it's hitting me pretty hard. But even like quintiles and stuff like that, you're still going to feel it. So just don't freak out. Usually I wouldn't be the kind of person to make a video about retrogrades because retrogrades usually aren't that important, but this particular one is really, really harsh. This is probably one of the worst ones I've ever seen. And I'm not just saying that from a subjective, my life isn't really, well, my life is fine right now, but I'm not saying this because I'm feeling it really hard. I'm saying it because from an astrological perspective, the aspects that are being made by Mercury while it's in retrograde to various different difficult to deal with planets makes this a particularly tough one. So hope this was helpful. It'll be okay. I do offer consultations. If you would like to schedule an appointment, please feel free to get a hold of me at my email address. I also have a podcast, Outrage Astrology. We talk a lot about transits, and we do a lot of in-depth analysis, especially with predictive astrology. You can find it on Spotify, Podbean, iTunes, and Google Play Music. So peace out. Until next time, guys.